Welcome back to Online. We're still joined here by the Managing Director of Microsoft Philippines, Mr. John Bessey. Okay, John, it's time for the cloud. Okay, so I would like to ask you, how important is the cloud in as far as the product and business strategy of Microsoft?
The best I can do in answering that is to quote Steve Ballmer, we're all in, so it's all important. Everything we're developing, everything we're thinking about will work in the cloud, and we're thinking about the cloud as we develop it.
But how is Microsoft, or how would you describe the cloud? Is it more of a delivery of application, or do you consider this as a new platform?
So it's definitely a new business model. There's no question it's a new business model. And it's kind of self-perpetuating. So what we're seeing is a growth in diversity in services that are being offered in the cloud, and a massive investment in servers and data centers that are driving the cloud. And these two are building on each other and building momentum. So that the cloud is building new possibilities every day in terms of how we think about the business going forward.
Remember when we launched Office 2010 here, one of the questions I asked you was the business model of Microsoft. I mean, we're so used to seeing Microsoft selling, off-the-shelves applications. Now everything is on the web. We're talking of software as a service. What changes do you foresee in as far as the revenue stream is concerned?
So when we talk about our strategy, we talk about software plus services. And I think that's particularly important in a developing market, probably more so than it is in a developed market. So in the software, I mean, people will still want to use and buy software in the traditional way that they've always bought it. And as you're seeing, these products are becoming richer and richer and richer, and users and businesses are dreaming up new ways to use it. I think that will be bought in the traditional way that's been bought before. We're also seeing partners really evolve and change their business model. So the software is becoming a component of the solution they're delivering to market. And the partners will decide, hey, how am I going to charge for that? What's the best economic model for me to drive that going forward? And the third piece, I think, which points to a change for us, is how we will deliver hosted applications and software through the cloud into markets like the Philippines and around the world. And definitely that's a different charging model. For our enterprise customers, they're still able to buy that in the traditional way they've done it, but they're consuming it differently. But people, there will be things like pay-as-you-go, obviously, to drive that kind of business.
Right. I don't know if you will agree with me, but when open source was starting, users were actually saying that when equate open source into free applications, right?
Right.
It seems like the same thing is happening with the cloud. Some users are saying that if the application is in the cloud, it should be free.
Right.
Do you agree to this impression?
Well, I think it's up to a business to charge and to offer its products in the way that it feels it should. And of course, it's up to a customer to decide what value that has to their business. When we look at what we call BPOS, which is our business productivity online services, what we're seeing is customers are delighted to pay for SharePoint or Office in the cloud, or unified communications in the cloud. Why? Because they're seeing it dramatically reduce their cost. How does it reduce their cost? It does it because they don't have to invest in the infrastructure. Perfect example would be if you think about Azure, we talked about before. Azure gives say you're a travel agency, it gives you the ability to build your online booking system in the cloud, in a Microsoft data center. Now, you may have fluctuations in volume that mean if you built it in your own data center, you're going to have to make a tremendous investment in hardware, cooling, etc., that you may only use 4 times a year through peak periods. Now, of course, you're able to pay for the volume that you use and not to make investments where you're not going to use it. So people are seeing that that's a tremendous return for their business, and they're happy to pay for that service.
Of course, these things that you mentioned, these are the benefits of cloud for those who would like to adopt cloud computing.
Sure.
Right. The other side are the concerns.
Sure.
And 2 of the major concerns is security and dependability. So first, I would like to ask you, in as far as your concern, would you say cloud is really secure now?
I think there's absolutely no question that you can deliver enterprise scale security through the cloud today. No question. And we have a number of significant customers who are leveraging the cloud very safely, and they've thought long and hard about the security that they need to have as a business. That being said, software plus services gives a customer who understands their business best and who are the people that should make the risk decision, the opportunity to either have it hosted within their business, on-premise, hosted by a partner, or hosted by Microsoft in the cloud. And that's a decision they should make based on their risk profile.
Is there any possibility, or is Microsoft already moving its operation to the cloud?
So there's absolutely everything that we are making will be available through the cloud. We're all in. Everything will be in the cloud. But there's no question that customers are going to want the flexibility to decide what and where they use it. Okay? And so customers will be able to continue to buy in the traditional way that they've been buying before.
So what you're saying is Microsoft is not here telling people that everything, or the be all of and all of everything is the cloud. No, that's not the stand of Microsoft. This is just one way of doing it.
That's correct, but there's no question that what we are saying is, you know what, the cloud is really relevant. It can really change how your business runs. Have a look, understand the differences it can make. And what we're seeing, like with Surface or with Windows 7 Touch, multi-touch, actually once you experience cloud computing, you start to see a whole different possibility to how you can drive your business. Perhaps an example, so if you think about, we have a product called Exchange Hosted Services. One of the things that this can do is it can actually do the spam filtering before it actually gets to your infrastructure. If you imagine what happens for a business in the world today, what happens is all the spam comes in, pay for it to come down the pipe, then it makes a decision that actually 95% of what you got you don't want, but you've paid to have it come down. So imagine a world where the cloud did that filtering for you, and you only paid for the email that you actually wanted to get to come down your pipe. That would be, a great cost saving.
But is it possible also to have the best of both worlds?
Absolutely no question. And it's funny when I sit down and talk to a CIO and I talk about the various options, and sometimes I describe them as it feels like you're saying, hey, this, this or this, either or, choose. And really they're saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to use that in an integrated way. I'm going to use the cloud for this component, I'm going to use a partner to deliver me this application, and I'm going to have this stuff actually located on my premise. So there's no question that most customers today are probably already using a combination. And there's no question that home users today are using a combination. If you're using Facebook and you're working with Windows on your PC, you're already using a combination of software plus services.
Okay, how about dependability of the cloud? Will it be available 24/7?
Right. So, and I think this is where the developing market spin becomes quite interesting in terms of what is the infrastructure like in the market to be supported. One of the things I think that's different between Microsoft and our competitors is that what we're saying with our business property online services, we're guaranteeing that availability. So there's no question that it's been built with that industry strength, reliability of being available.
What particular efforts is Microsoft is doing to ensure that the cloud will be secure and dependable? In as far as Microsoft is concerned, what initiatives are you doing?
So there's a number of things that we're working on. Of course, in terms of the applications that we host and the data centers that we run, they are best in class, world-class facilities. And the software has been built with the very premise security has to be guaranteed because it needs to be provided. I think the other thing that we're doing is we work with our partners who may host applications themselves to help them understand how they can be more secure in terms of how they deliver those to customers.
Aside from Microsoft, of course, there are other companies who are also engaging into the cloud. I would like to ask you, is Microsoft worried about Apple or Google?
I think, as I said before, we focus on our business.
Okay.
We're really excited about how our customers are responding to whether it's the beta of Office 2010 and how that works with the cloud, or whether it's the unified communications or business intelligence components of Office 2010 and how they work between the cloud and on-premise. We feel really good about the response we're getting. We feel really good about where the company is, both globally and especially good about how it is locally in the Philippines. And we're quite excited about how we're going forward.
How does Microsoft intend to win the web?
Well, we intend to win the web by delighting our customers. It's as simple as that. A customer that's having a wonderful experience from a company that's responsive to its feedback will stay and work with that company going forward.
More of Microsoft and Mr. John Bessey when online returns. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?